Today we're going to play the timpani solo from the North Carolina District and All-State for 2019. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hi, I'm Rick Dior, Professor of Percussion at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Today we're going to play the timpani solo from the North Carolina District and All-State for 2019. The solo this year is Garwood Whaley's Etude on page 33. It's from this book, Musical Studies for the Intermediate Timpanist. It's a tricky little solo, namely because it's very quiet the whole way through. So you have to have a lot of control to play quietly. I would suggest practicing with the metronome as much as possible. And you'll see me wearing some headphones on the video, which you've obviously just seen. Those headphones enable me to hear a click track, which I will put after this segment of the video. I'll put up a audio track of me playing with the click so you can play along and hear the timing of that. And also, I subdivide the click. So in other words, it's in 6/8 or 12/8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And the actual eighth note is being played, so you can hear that. And that's the way I would suggest practicing. Now you also notice I'm not sitting when I'm playing. Normally I sit when I have a lot of tuning, but this etude has absolutely no tuning besides the original tuning, which is a G minor 7 chord. We'll talk about that in a second. So I stand. I'm a pretty short guy. I'm perfect height for standing. And if you can stand, it's actually going to be a little better because there's a lot of getting around and it's quiet. So you have to move very quietly. So it helps if you're not too tall to stand for this solo. The mallets I'm using are a Vic Firth staccato. It's a good mallet for this piece. It's fairly light and it's a good match of articulation, and also, like I said, it's a light sound, so it's not a heavy mallet. So whatever mallet you use, make sure it's a nice and light mallet and not too hard. You want to hear the tone of the timpani, not a tick. So the tone versus a harder sound. This is wood, but you hear the difference, okay? Good. So it's written piano softly, the whole thing, and it says always softly. So I'm doing a little contrast and dynamics, some pianissimo, maybe get up to mezzo piano. That's just for phrasing and a little bit of musicality. I think you should feel free to do that. I'm also doing it at dotted quarter note equals 80, which is the fastest tempo notated. Also, I'm playing, the style is American style with the large drum on the left, small drum on the right. That's from the player's perspective. If you play German, which is backwards, the large drum would be on the player's right and the small drum would be on the player's left. So just bear in mind, those stickings are for the American style of playing. So let's talk a little about tuning. This is a G minor 7 chord. It's actually very good range for these drums. It's in the perfect tuning area of the drums to sound good. So the 32 will be a G. So when you tune, get right down there and, okay, and just come right up to the G. Don't hit it with your mallet and tune it in gliss. You need to tune quietly and show the judges that you can do that. And then do that with all the drums. Also, I would suggest you can get an A tuning fork and then get all the notes from that, or a G tuning fork, or blow one note on a pitch pipe. Not all the notes, just one note. If you blow that note, blow a G, which is the root of the chord. Always tune to the root of the chord. It'll make your chord sound better on the timpani. Okay? So after you've tuned, and we'll tune up B flat and the D. And again, your tuning should be like this. Just gliss right up to it. And then your F. Okay? Now watch out for that F. That 23 is a tricky drum. If you're a little sharp, you can do this in the middle of the drum, very lightly. That knocks it down like a quarter tone, depending on how hard you hit it. And it'll settle it right in. Chances are the drums you play on for the competition will not have a fine tuner. So please keep that in mind. The next thing we're going to talk about is muffling. So it's very important in this piece to muffle. He even has a few spots where he says to muffle. So all those vacant bars, like the 3/8 bars, and then you have a whole bar rest, you want to definitely muffle in those bars. Now when I say muffle, I don't mean just, hitting the drum like that. You muffle very lightly, like that. So the stick goes right up into this part of your hand. Okay, so people call that the fulcrum. And then you muffle with your fingers. See it? Okay, when you have a bunch of drums, the order that you muffle is important. So if whatever note you want ringing last, that's the last one you muffle. Obviously the G, the biggest drum, is going to take the longest to kill the sound because it's a big drum. So that's the one you want to get first for a clean sound. The F will ring the shortest since it's the smallest drum. So you want to try to muffle, and you saw all the muffling on the video, so try to copy that. It's very important to do that. So the things to remember, again, tempo, very important. Practice with a click track. It's very important, especially the bars that you're not playing, to keep solid time in those bars. Then tuning, extremely important, since it is a consonant chord. And then finally, rhythm and muffling. Okay, so, the muffling is extremely important. So I hope that helps, and thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.